Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Nottingham Zone of Board of Adjustment. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would like to first make a motion to move the public meeting part, the election of officers, to the last item on the agenda this evening.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So then we'll begin with our first case. Just ground rules for folks. This is the biggest crowd we've had in many years. And it's the first time I think we've ever heard more than 2 cases in a night, so record breaking. So ground rules are, we'll hear from the applicant first, and any questions are directed through myself, the chair of the board. I'm Mike Russo. And then we hear from abutters and any other concerned citizens before we move on to the next case. All right, and then this is a legal proceeding, so if people in the audience could be quiet because our note taker needs to hear as well as participate in the discussion. So any commentary needs to go through the board. All right, excellent. So then we'll start tonight with case 16002 VA. Application from James and Jacqueline Soroco and Joan Morin requesting a variance from Article 2, Section C1 of the zoning ordinance to permit the transfer of land from one existing substandard lot, less than 2 acres, to another. The proposed use of the property is residential. The property is identified as tax map 63, lot 67 and 68, and is located at 46 and 48 White Groves Road, Nottingham, New Hampshire. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Peter Landry, representing Mr. Soroco and Joan LeBlanc, who's also in attendance. Joan Morin LeBlanc. This is a pretty straightforward request in the sense that we're down on Pawtuckaway with 2 substandard lots, less than 2 acres, existing. In the packet that I provided you, you'll see some maps along the back that show the lot configuration. One of the existing lots is, when I say substandard, I mean it's only 5,000 square feet. Right now, the situation is they're brother and sister, and that are getting along, and they are looking at putting together a lot line adjustment so that Jim's lot can get a little bit of, let's, for the sake of argument, call it frontage along White Grove Road, or at least direct access to White Grove. Presently, he has a right-of-way, as you'll see on the recorded plan copy, or an easement to use Joan's land, his sister's, for access. And just a point of fact, it's on paper and it's legal, but it's not being used at this point as an access. Matter of fact, as you saw in the report, there are very large pine trees and boulders in that area. So again, simple request. We know we're going to need to go in front of the planning board if we are successful with the variance and do the procedure with the lot line adjustment. But of course, as you know, the planning board has no power to approve this if I was to put a plan in front of them of creating a lot, making a substandard lot even smaller. So that's your responsibility. Right. At this point, there's nothing in the rules and regulations or zoning that covers that. So that's why we're here tonight. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, we got these 2 lots down on Pawtuckaway, Whites Grove Road. What I understand, again, Jim's idea is, you know, with this additional land, a couple thousand square feet, it would provide him more usable space on his lot, get him, if he ever looks at doing a replacement septic, it puts it further away from the lake, where he can then put his well down by the lake, which is preferred layout by DES. It also, again, I mentioned, it gives him that access without crossing over somebody else's land out to Whites Grove Road. So we're trying to take, you know, I wouldn't say it's a bad situation, but it's not clean, and we're trying to clean it up. That's what we're really trying to do. So, I mean, I don't know if you need me to go down through everything here. I mean, you've got it in front of you to read, the narrative. I could go into some more on that, but maybe I'll just get right to the 5 points. So of course, we are asking for a variance, and it's up to us to provide the board with the 5 criteria that supports our request. And of course, the general questions are, or number 1 question, would granting this variance be contrary to the public interest? Again, as I mentioned, you know, the use around these 2 lots has been somewhat shared for years. The families have owned the land there for decades, and the fact that there's already an existing lot line out there, and the fact that we're just jockeying it over and adjusting some areas has really no effect on the status quo, the way things look out there now. So, and again, no increased traffic patterns, no public safety issues, or increase in damaging the water and surrounding wells and stuff with this request. So therefore, you can conclude there's no adverse effect on the public interest. Number 2 asks the question, if the variance was granted, is the spirit of the ordinance, would it still be observed? And again, since there's no altering of the neighboring properties, no adverse effects on the health and safety, welfare of the community by moving a lot line, no overcrowding would result as a part of this. So therefore, somewhat fitting in with the spirit of the zoning, keeping things the way they are. Granting this variance would do substantial justice. Well, again, maybe looking at it from one way, but again, if the variance is granted, the benefit that the applicants would receive would certainly not outweigh the additional burden or health, safety, welfare suffered by the town, if any. So, next question is, if the variance is granted, the values of surrounding property would not be diminished. Again, most likely than not, this proposal doesn't decrease the surrounding property values. Like I do mention in here, there may be some slight adjustments that would need to be done later on after the lot line adjustment's done, because again, one lot's getting smaller, one lot's getting larger. That's really the only effect that I can see that on the surrounding properties with this proposal. And then the number 5 is the unnecessary hardship section, which talks about owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of variance would result in an unnecessary hardship because, then there's further questions, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance, which is the 2-acre zoning, and the specific application, to the specific application of the provision to the property, because again, stated in the zoning, residential agricultural district shall comprise most of the town, okay? So you've seen this type of variance before, some of you, and the ordinance at this point doesn't says you can't have a lot less than 2 acres. Of course, you know, some might know, some of you have been on the board for a while, know that the court's rulings have emphasized that zoning must be consistent with the character of the neighborhoods they regulate. So I'm looking at, how do we make a 5,000 square foot lot 2 acres? Because that's our zoning. So therefore, the 2 subject properties and other pre-existing substandard sized properties throughout the town, and specifically that area, would be considered unique in a sense, because they're smaller than the 2-acre norm compared to the majority of the town. Then, in addition to the unnecessary hardship, they want to know the proposed use is a reasonable one. Again, I've talked a little bit about why we're trying to do it. There are sketches in the application that show, you know, potential use of the land after, if we go through this and get this lot line adjustment complete. But what it would do is it would allow Jim and Jackie to increase their overall lot size. He may not have a neighbor in the future if Joan were to sell that would entertain or consider a lot line adjustment, so the timing's right. Which would give him, again, more space from the lake for any septic replacement. And again, put the well down by the lake as the sketches show. And really, if you can see from the pictures I gave you, Jim's using the land now anyway, even though it's Jones. So really, if we move the lot line over, it's not gonna affect, you know, the use and enjoyment that Joan's already, enjoying, so to speak, on her lot right now. It's pretty much Jim's already parking his vehicles in that area, shared, so. Now, the last part of that hardship is explain how, if the criteria are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and only if, owing to special circumstances of the property that distinguish it from others in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use. And again, it's a little bit of rehashing, but both of these are non-conforming lots, and the relief will allow the opportunity of one of the smaller lots, which is 5,000, to get maybe add another couple of thousand, so that lot's going in the right direction towards the 2 acres. Unfortunately, the lot next door will, although oversized and much larger than the 5,000, will have to take the decrease of 2, but it's, when you step back and look at it, it's more or less a balancing act to bring Jim's lot closer into conformity with the abutting and surrounding lots. So, that pretty much does it for me. If you have any questions?
Questions from the board?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if we were to grant this request and this land were transferred from 46 to 48, would this enable the smaller lot to enlarge the building that's there in terms of number of bedrooms?
Oh, no, not number of bedrooms, not at all, no. It's just, these lots, and like many others in this area, they're undersized, even to meet lot loading for a 2-bedroom, although the state will grant at a minimum a 2-bedroom septic design for pretty much any unit, if you've got the room on there.
So the existing house is a 2-bedroom house?
Yeah, the tax cards, the existing's a 2-bedroom.
And it will have to stay that way even if it gets this?
It would not be able to expand, right, the number of bedrooms. Now, can he put new walls, ceiling, you know, that kind of stuff?
No,
doubt.
I'm hip to that.
Yeah.
And I understand that having a better septic system by a lake is usually a good idea.
Further, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
further away from the lake.
Right.
So, but I was just curious about that and I figured you would
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only question I have is, on one of the drawings, it shows the existing septic 10 feet from the new proposed property line.
Yes.
How do we handle that? That's to me, it's minor, but
In what respect that you'd like to see more than 10?
no, I mean, to me, don't we need
25.
in general, we need 20 feet.
State law is 10.
Oh, state law is 10.
10 feet.
So we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Our zoning is more restrictive, so if the state's good with 10,
yeah,
I'm
it's
good with 10.
existing, so, yeah.
All right. My question is answered. Any discussion from the board?
No, I mean, I did go down there and look at the property and it really does make sense to extend that boundary between them and give road frontage to this other house that now doesn't have any.
Right. I think, you know, the net benefit to the family and to the town is to move any septic tank. Anytime it gets further away from the lake, I'm happy. So, that's great.
Well, and it makes it a more valuable lot for the person gaining access.
Right.
I took a drive-by there, I don't think it'll change the character of the neighborhood at all.
I agree, as long as the McMansion doesn't get rid of it. It's crowded enough down there. So, I don't have any other questions.
All right, I make a motion to approve case 16.
Excuse me, butters
Oh,
comments?
I'm sorry. Anybody like to speak? I didn't see any body language, that's why I was going. I'm good at reading.
Keeping you
body
honest.
language. Yep. Case 16, I make a motion to approve case 16002 VA as written.
I second it.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Just a reminder, 30-day appeal window. So don't start digging anything up yet. All right. The public hearing on case 16002-VA is closed at this point. I'd like to open hearing on case 16003-VA, VASE. Applications from Robert and Patricia Guarino requesting a variance from Article 2, Section C1A of the zoning ordinance to permit relief from the minimum contiguous frontage of 200 feet. A variance from Article 2, Section C1C of the zoning ordinance to permit relief from the required 30,000 contiguous area lot envelope. And a special exception from Article 2, Section C2 of the zoning ordinance to permit relief from the 50-foot setback requirement. Is it, which line, lot line is that from, or we'll find that out?
Yeah, when they're present. And then just so you guys know, we'll need 3 votes on this tonight. You have to
Okay.
vote on each separately because they apply separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
The proposed use of the property is to subdivide and add a single-family home. The property is identified as tax map 70, lot 100, located at 15 Mindle Road, Nottingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tricia Guarino,
Hi, Robert Carino.
and we're at 15 Mindle Road in Nottingham. So, I don't know if I can follow Mr. Landry's concise. So if I could give you a general idea of what our intent is. My mother, Joanne Marsh, who is here, lives at 15 Mindle Road, bought her property in 2001, and she's currently lakeside at, on lot 100. It's a 7.87 acre lot that moves in a column away from the lake and eventually away from the road. It was subdivided, I think sometime in the 70s, and you see lot 100-A there, which is just a hair over 2 acres.
Okay.
So what we would like to do is is to subdivide and put a single-family ranch-style home on the back portion of lot 100. It would leave the front portion at about 2 acres, fulfilling that requirement, and then give us the remainder of the lot towards the back. So the first variance that we requested was relief from the 200-foot frontage requirement. I'd like to point out that Mindle Road is a private road, and if we were able to subdivide, I think the requirement is 20 feet, and we would have 73 feet on the private road. And then we figured we'd go for the gusto. While we were playing with the tax maps and trying to figure out where best to put a home on the property, and looking into it, we discovered that there's a large area of hydric soil that cuts right across the lot.
The bright green.
That's
The bright green.
I just brought up.
Yeah.
That's the lot.
It cuts it right in half.
Yep.
And you can also see that that lot moves away from the road. So what we're left with in terms of an area that is buildable that we, could possibly afford to build on is a triangle at the front,
Yep.
where the road frontage is. So playing with the tax maps, I came up, and you have in front of you a triangle of about 1.1 acre.
It should be the folded map in your.
Yes, and there's a smaller one,
The red
Yeah.
triangle, right?
now, after we submitted the application, I played with it further, and I could change the polygon to get 1.6 acres. So it's, this is just using the software that's available through the town website. And then when you take into consideration the other requirements of the 30,000 contiguous square feet and the setback requirements, we can't quite meet it. So we were hoping, I played with it again, and with the setback requirements, we get up to almost 19,000 contiguous square feet. And we feel very strongly that if we were to have the property professionally surveyed, we could maybe find more space. We did speak with Mr. Landry, and we were hoping to hire him at some point, and he suggested that we try to go through this process first. so that we're not, you know, putting a lot of money into it and then find out that the town is not in favor of us building in the area. So, I don't know if any of you had, or Mr. Chairperson, I don't know if anybody on the board had a chance to drive by, but it is a very wooded area. As you get closer to the lake, you can see that there are many lots that are less than 2 acres with houses that are very close together. I think that if the board were to grant the variance for the setback requirements, privacy would still be maintained in the area and for the neighbors. We would be, the house would be about 400 feet away from the closest abutter's house, which would be on lot 100A. There's no house on lot 38. And we would build with the intent to maintain our privacy and taking down as few trees as possible in order to build on the. And then also, I'd like to point out that, you know, if the variances were granted and we looked into subdividing, we still have to follow the letter of the law. We still have to do the perk tests, make sure that a well could be put in, and they need to be a certain distance away from that hydric soil. So we know that there's a chance that even with the variances granted, you know, it might not be a buildable site. But again, we didn't want to have it surveyed and then come here and request a variance for setback or request a variance for the contiguous square footage and not get it.
So Paul, with that diagram pulled up there, can you show us where the proposed lot line separation would be and in its relation to the-
Basically, what they're proposing is, this is the house that she was referencing on the,
Right.
on the other lot, so you can see the distance, but what
Yep.
she's proposing is a new lot line. Basically, come on.
That's what it did when I tried to do anything earlier.
Right here,
Okay,
give or take a few feet.
Right.
So, let me,
so that's why the limited frontage on Mindle Road.
right, cause if we zoom back out, with the lot line being, the proposed lot line being here,
Right,
you'll notice, and I calculated the square footage out, this is where the existing house is now, that normal, right? So this is just a tad over 2 acres. So
Okay.
we're meeting our, and then the remaining piece is well over 2 acres.
right,
Almost 6.
Yeah.
right.
And the back portion of the lot is just absolutely gorgeous, and it's large, but it's away from the road. We'd have to get a permit to cross the hydric soil. There's a hill on the other side of it. It just wouldn't be feasible for us in terms of cost.
Right, yeah, I've been down in that area before, not this week. Especially not yesterday.
Right.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem.
Right. Is that the whole presentation?
Well, would you like us to go, we can go through the application. If you'd like us to do that,
No,
we certainly can.
I've already read it, I think it's,
Close to her mother and, you know,
no, that's all there as part of the record. Questions from the board?
The double triangles that are shown here is the darker one where the house would be, and then the lighter part being
Right.
your border for your,
The darker part would be the contiguous square feet, if we were to follow the current ordinances with, 50 feet from the front of the road and then from the neighbor's property. So, and as I said, I played with the software again, and I got it up to almost 19,000 contiguous square feet. You know, if we had it surveyed ahead of time, you know, we could give you exact numbers, but just wanted to see what we could do with the software.
And again, which property line are we looking for the relief for the 50 feet from? Is it from the neighboring lot 100A?
100A, to Wallace's, and we've, you know, spoken with them, and
It's a
the Lyles
sideline,
here
isn't it?
today, the other neighbor here in this large lot.
Isn't that a
and
sideline?
We've spoken,
The sideline, the main house still has to be 50. It's auxiliary, it's a detached
That's
building.
right, too.
Yeah.
You can have your pig barn there, but not your
Right.
house, I got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and if you guys see my memo, I mean, specifically the 30,000 square foot one, the planning board just a few weeks ago approved a lot similar to this that was configured very similar for the wetland that cut the lot in half. they did show the 30,000 square foot out, the buildable area out on the other side of the wetland with the intention of building the house, pretty much what they're doing. The difference was, all the lots are over 2 acres except for one that abutted this one. The unique feature of this one is we're on the lake, and that is a very delicate wetland area that supplies the lake that, you know, if we scroll out, loops back all the way around everything. So, in my opinion, as the staff member, I would recommend the relief of the 30,000, because it's just gonna offer better protection to the lake as well as the abutters.
Right, and
Right.
it's a shorter driveway,
Well, that's
less
it,
impacts.
yes. And the odds are them getting a crossing on that wetland from DES are gonna be slim to none.
Right,
Right.
right. Yeah, because that wetland goes on both properties abutting.
Yeah.
I have one question. Does the house on the front, does that have a state-approved septic?
The house that's on
On the
the
lake.
property already?
It's on the lake?
Yes.
That had state-approved septic, okay.
That's newish.
And the other thing was, you say this front one's gonna be about 2 acres. I know you haven't had it surveyed, you're just kinda doing it off this map. But you got these roads that go through it. You know, so that would be a little, I mean, those are private roads, so they're owned by you guys own those roads, right?
The Lyles
We
on the
do.
road.
Yeah, so the road
We use
goes,
it every day. I mean, we live here now. We are on the water
Right.
now. You know, we come to the end every day.
so you're just looking for, you just want to get approval so you can proceed with a surveyor and
Right,
then go
We-
to the planning board, so.
yes. It's a question that we've tossed around a lot in the
Yeah.
family about if there's anything that can, could ever be done with that land in the back.
And I will say, they've been talking to me for a while now about this, this is what we came up with to present to you guys tonight.
So were you saying that lot 100 used to go all the way to where
Right.
the house, and is the house within 100A or within 100 on the other side of?
South front.
This- here, I'll scroll in terms so you can see.
Yeah, see, they have water view.
If you look, here's the house for lot 100A, and lot 100, which they're proposing, here's the existing house on it, right on the lake.
So you're gonna put another house on that?
No, back.
In the back.
Yeah,
Wait,
what they
lot
wanna
line,
do
lot
is,
100A.
is draw a new lot line here, and
Yeah.
if they get their approvals tonight, move forward with a subdivision of this remaining.
Will that be then
They would have built in that triangle.
100 still in the other, and all of the rest of that will be 100A? Is that what you're asking to do?
No.
Well, that would be
No,
the,
it'd be in the
We
whole.
would assign it a new lot number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be 100, 100A, and then 100B or whatever.
Whatever
it is.
Sue comes up with in assessing, yeah. The main house, the existing house on that lot 100 will remain as lot 100.
The one in the middle.
Right, the new
No,
property,
the
if
one
it's.
up front.
Right, the one, this one,
That 100A, we think.
this one will stay as 100, lot
Okay.
100. This won't, this is not even
Part of
part
it?
of the application. So if they get approval for the subdivision of this land, this will be assigned a new lot number, by the assessing department.
Okay.
Now, is it possible for that to be further subdivided or not?
Well, I'm never gonna say no, because you could, we have the 4-year limit. But looking at it further, the odds are, the only time I think I could see further subdivision on this, if a butters bought land from them, because it's just inaccessible from,
Inaccessible from that
from
road?
Mindle, and then, even over on the other side, that wetland wraps around so much, it's gonna be almost impossible. You'll see, Mike, here's the lot we're talking about.
Right, there's a whole nother
Yeah,
wetland.
and then here's
set
the
of
abutting
properties.
road, and where this wraps around, and, you got a little thing here, but there's already a house here, so.
It's
the odds
almost
on that-
surrounded by wetland.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, that would be my only concern, is further subdivision of that back lot. Because that would still be about, what, 5 acres?
Roughly, yeah.
They would have, I mean, they'd have to
They'd have to
I mean,
keep.
They'd have to
big
come
hill
through
back
their
there.
lot to get to it. I mean,
Yeah, I
it
tell you,
could-
yeah, it's a very, it's hard to see, but in this area right here is a huge hill, and the wetland actually, you know, it's, these maps aren't the best.
Right.
Actually extends further.
Terrain is tough.
Yeah, it's almost, you know, it's almost at our 25% grade out here that we
Oh,
don't
okay.
allow in, so,
All right.
right, yeah.
It certainly wouldn't be our intent
Yeah,
to
we-
ever,
Exactly.
I mean, I know you
If
need to
you're
know for the
asking.
town. We wanna live, you know, in the woods near our mom.
That piece around it, who owns that piece?
This
That-
one here?
Yeah, that's one big piece. Is that owned by the horse? No, that's not, okay, that's a different.
Sorry.
That is a big piece.
11 Moores Road.
Is that the one
I
with
think
the
it's
horse farm?
It was recently sold. It was
Yeah.
purchased in, February, I think. Philipponi or Philip, I just know from the abutters list.
I can tell you. If it's been updated. Sue's been on vacation for the last 2 weeks, so it may not be updated.
That's a nice tool.
If you can make it behave.
I couldn't.
Erica and Joseph Philippone or Philipponi.
Yeah.
I think.
But that's the only way you'd really get to that lot, is from that piece of land, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Questions or comments from abutters?
You guys good?
All right, let's take a vote on the first variance from Article 2, Section C1A to permit relief from the minimum contiguous frontage of 200 feet on Mindle Road.
Move to approve.
Anybody else? Second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. That's 5. Variance from Article 2, Section C1C to permit relief from the required 30,000-foot contiguous area lot envelope.
I'll second it.
Who moved it?
Move to approve.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Special exception from Article 2, Section C2 of the zoning ordinance to permit relief from the 50-foot setback requirement, and I guess that would be to Lot 100A, just to be specific. We can make that change.
Move to approve.
Well, we're gonna put, oh, they just want down, they could go down to 20 anyways, right?
No,
But
that's,
no,
that's
but-
for accessory structures. On a primary structure, it needs to be 50 feet.
Right, so they're asking relief, so you've got to set,
But we gotta set a certain distance of like
Right.
20 feet,
We don't
of
know
no
what
less
that
than
distance
20 or
is.
something.
Do you know what that distance is?
I didn't measure out, what's your
We did that.
proposal to go?
Well, it was my understanding that the ordinance wouldn't go less than 20.
Right, yeah,
Right.
so that's why
So we'll
it's,
maintain with that.
Right,
Less
that's what
than-
it reads.
Yeah.
yeah,
So relief from the 50-foot setback and no more than 20 feet.
No less.
Less.
No less.
It does
No
say-
less than 20 feet.
It says, it says more here, but it is less.
I'm sorry, I'm just
That's
thinking
all right.
back.
It's written wrong.
Yes.
All right, so no
Less.
less than 20 feet from that property line, 100A.
you need a second still.
I'll second it.
All in favor? It's unanimous. There you go, folks. Just a reminder that it's a 30-day appeal window, so if abutters are angry and not saying anything tonight, they could appeal that process, but you still have a long road ahead of you with the lot line adjustment stuff, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you at planning board. Thank you.
I want that too.
Not much. No, just those.
All right, call the public hearing on case 16003 VA closed at this point. And open case 16004 application from Jonathan Fabonio requesting an appeal to an administrative decision requiring the total amount to be paid for the impact fee on new home located at 66 Garland Road, identified as tax map 15, lot 1.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you. My name is Steve Fabonio. I'm John's dad. I own 68 Garland Road, and John is 66 Garland Road. This is a little unique here where it really doesn't fall into the application, you know, the way the application's made out for this request. This is kind of unique. I'll give you a quick little history. John is the United States Air Force, and he's been around different parts of the country, and our home is here in New Hampshire, and he is out of Pease Air Force Base now. So we looked around to try to help him find a piece of property that worked for him to be close to Pease. He's got some special duties there that he needs to be close to Pease to get there in a short amount of time, especially during the snowy season, to make sure planes can come in and land and take off safely. So we found this property on Garland Road, and John, as I said, owns 66 and we own 68. At the time when we bought the property, we did not know. I'm not sure that it would have changed things, to be honest with you, because we needed a location that was going to fit the commute. And but in speaking with Paul, we found out there was indeed an impact fee. And basically, we're here to ask for your support on that, if you can give any. Obviously, being in the Air Force, he has very limited pay. And he supports the rest of us, so we're here, I guess, I'm personally here asking for your support. As his dad, his mother and I own a construction company, so, and we do excavation work as well as build homes. So we built our son's home. He got newly married last year, and we helped him build this home, and whatever it cost us is what we pass on to him in order to try to have it affordable, because he can't afford to build a home on the pay that he has. So basically, it's very simple. We're just asking if there's nothing in the ordinance or anywhere where there's relief for elderly or military. A lot of times there's some sort of, you know, I guess, support or help, you know, for military, because they are on a very limited budget. So we're basically here this evening asking for any support that you could give us on that impact fee to help John with his financial burden at 66 Garland Road.
So,
Is
yep.
it 40, is it 42 or 48? I don't remember the exact amount.
The amount, $4,887.
Oh, it is 48. I thought it was 42 for some reason.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if this is maybe this is a strange request. I don't know how often this happens, but I just felt compelled to ask, because there's a lot of folks out there that join the military, and it's tough. I know what he makes for a living, and his mother and I feel very fortunate that we're able to help them to get to the point where they can be in a home and be close to the base and those sort of things. So we're doing all we can for him, and we thought, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask if we can have some relief based on what he does for the community and for the country.
Certainly. The only there is a provision for elderly, but it's generally for subdivisions, and then they're deed restricted.
I see.
And I think there's a time limit of 20 years.
Yep.
It would have to be 20 years, but I don't think that's what we're looking at here. You know, you're not building a subdevelopment of elderly housing.
No. I mean, I'm obviously, I'm well aware of the impact fees, and on 68, you know, we're going to be paying our impact fees on the home that we're building there. But John may not have done this on his own, but I felt compelled to come here and ask for some support. He felt kind of funny coming to the board here and coming before you, asking you for that, but I think a lot of folks wouldn't ask. You know, they wouldn't, military folks, they just do their job and they don't ask for that. So as his dad, I felt it was very important to do this.
I think I noticed in reading the ordinance several times over in the last couple of days for homework, that there can be worked out a fee payment schedule,
Correct,
so it doesn't have to be paid all at once.
correct.
So that's one piece, if you guys wanted to go that avenue, because I do know, working on a teacher's salary, that we don't get paid a lot.
Sure.
So I do know that that's an impact, and we could certainly work out a fee schedule. The other piece is, what was my other point? I can't remember. It's one of those days.
There's other contributions to the capital facility. I don't know, how much land comes with it? Is there any extra land you can do a conservation easement on? Is it an exchange or something like that, or?
What we did,
It's a 2-acre lot.
Yeah, and the house, well, it's a little more because they did a lot line adjustment,
Right.
but the house is actually, I forget how many feet off the top of my head.
it's pushed way back
It's
for.
way back off the road. I mean,
Yeah.
this time of year you can see it, but when the leaves come in, unless you know where to look right up the driveway, you're never gonna see the house, so.
Yeah, the whole idea was to keep it private.
I mean, to do that part, we'd have to send him back to the planning board. He'd have to offer a $5,000 equivalency of a capital improvement someplace, so
Right.
he'd still be paying the $5,000.
Right. Oh, the other thing about impact fees is if the town takes this money, puts it aside in escrow, in an interest-bearing account, and as long as interest rates don't go negative. But what happens is if the town does not use that money, within 6 years, you do get that money back.
Yeah, Paul explained that. to
Okay,
us.
you guys are aware of that.
Yep, yep.
I mean, I feel for the case, but my take on it is, on an administrative decision, there has to be found that whoever, they're appealing my decision, that I committed an error.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, you'll see, you have a copy of the building permit, that's my standard I write on there, impact fee applies on any new house built that provides. So, I mean, no offense, but I don't see where this case has merit, because in my opinion, there was no error created in the
Right.
administration of this.
You were
Right.
following the law.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
and like the chairman brought up, yeah, if we wanna do a payment plan, if that's what it comes down to, you'll offer one, and then I have to bring it to the board of selectmen for their approval, and I will tell you it'll probably go, it's pretty much what I advise them on, they'll approve, so.
Now, what about, I did, just going through the website, reading, I did, and I printed it out in the section on impact fees. It does state that if you've paid property taxes on vacant land through the past, that may give you, or that you may be able to give us a reduction for that.
It wasn't in current use, it was being taxed as a house lot, or?
I'm not sure how it was taxed before, I just know that I paid a bill in July and then also in December.
Yeah, they've had 2 tax bills levied on that property. That was, the original intent of the planning board when that was in there, is lots that have been vacant for a number of years, like our old, like land your family owns, you know, it's been vacant for a long time, they could ask for relief. Yeah, I don't even know what the tax bill
Well, yeah, and,
was undeveloped, so, on the first levy, so, yeah.
yeah, I think basically what, to elaborate on what John said, that somebody's been paying taxes on this land for a very long time. I think that's how it's meant to be applied. You know, there's been vacant land and there's been monies given to the town for a very long time with nothing in return. So I think that's, I'm assuming that's what they're talking about in the ordinance there on that. Obviously, we didn't pay the taxes up until a year ago, and then we purchased the property, and John's paid 2 tax bills on it since then. But the previous owner, I think it was Nicholas. I want to say it wasn't it Nicholas?
I can't remember the last name.
It had been there a very long time. Somebody paying taxes on it. So, I mean, for me personally, I guess I appreciate the whole. Planned out payment thing, which if that's what it comes down to, that any help would be some help. But I guess I'm also, as his father, I'm looking at everybody saying, so him being in the military, there's no compensation, there's no observance of that from the town, that he provides that service?
Well, I would take exception to that. The town does recognize veterans' discounts on their taxes. We do veteran abatements. This town has done that for years and years and years. So the town does recognize service of our veterans and current service members. You just have to go through the paperwork in the assessing office to apply for the abatement.
So he can.
Yep, he needs a copy of his DD-24, well, no, you're still in, so you wouldn't. And, yeah, just, I would come in the office and talk to Sue. Yep, yep.
So it's not a discount on the impact fee, but it's a discount on your taxes forever. It's
Okay.
really a better deal.
Sure. And does that require a certain amount of years, Paul, do you know, or?
There are qualifications that you have to serve during certain times and stuff like that. I don't know the rules, but like I say, Sue handles all that. I don't, and she knows them right off the top of her head.
And you can find it in the RSAs if you want to research
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
If you, what is your rank right now?
A staff sergeant?
If you've been in for any amount of time and participated in several of the campaigns, then you're likely to qualify.
Right, yeah.
I did 21 years of service, and I don't qualify, you're welcome, because I wasn't involved in any of the campaigns. I was boots on the ground here, not overseas, so it does depend on where your tours of duty have taken you.
Okay.
And I believe other guys in your unit have been able to do it because you guys are direct
the way
support
it goes.
back and forth with refueling, so. Yeah. But yeah, I would check with Sue, yeah.
Can I ask, the 6-year period, when is the 6-year period up? Has it already been in
would-
progress of what you're trying
No.
It
to?
begins when you pay.
It would-
No,
it
it
starts
starts
when
when
you
you
pay.
pay the impact fee. I give you a sheet stating, who paid it, what the check number was, all that stuff, and what the amount was. And then on the bottom, it's due to expire, and we go 6 years from that date that the check's given to me.
Is it specific, the money specific, as to where it goes? or-
Yeah,
Yes.
out of the $4,887, $667 go, we will use that part up in July. From everything from last July to this July, we make an extra bond payment on the new fire station, and we still owe about 10 years on that. The remaining, rounded off, 4,200 goes in, it's only dedicated for school use. And it's very limited what you can use the money for. So far, the school has used $0. In fact, in another year, they're going to be ready to start turning back some money. Because that 6 years has gone up. So what happens is, as the chairman says, it goes into account, it's interest bearing. The longest one that's been there, that's 5.5 years, has earned up, I think it's less than $1 interest, so you're not gonna get rich off of interest. But it's set up separately in your name, so, and it's not used for tax purposes, the town can't touch it, it's only for that specifically used by law. Yep.
And those are spelled out in, with the impact fee as to what it can be used for based on, the different departments and,
Yep.
so it's not like we can just pick something and send that money towards that. There's very specific guidelines for the use of it.
One of the other questions that we had was, this has been a very long, drawn-out build. John and his wife, they got married last July, and they've been separated for the most of the time, not just from the military, but because we're building their home for them with no costs. He's kind of put on the back burner. We go and work on jobs that make money for the company, and then we work on his house when he can. So this has been drawn out for a long time, and we thought the meeting was before tonight, but we actually have a inspection with Paul tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And one of my questions is, if we worked out a payment plan, is that going to affect him getting a CO in order to move into his home this weekend?
No, you and I we can work that, I mean, if that's what everybody wants to do is the thing, you draw it up, and tomorrow when we're together, I'll review it, I'll run it to the selectmen, we'll do a temporary CO until the selectmen sign off. They met this past Monday, they're not gonna meet for 2 weeks, but this way we can get you in the house this week with no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But I
it
think the-
says in the ordinance that the planning board has to agree to that schedule, not the ZBA.
Right,
Well, he's the
Oh, no, that's an
acting
alternate
agent.
form.
that's the,
He's
right,
Okay.
the acting agent for the planning board.
right,
Okay, so
yeah.
you can do that
Yeah.
administratively for them.
Paul, the only thing I see wrong with that is the bank has to,
Okay, yeah,
Bank needs to see the
we'll just,
CO.
what we'll do is we'll just do a full CO then, and we'll get the paperwork, I trust you. I haven't had any issues with you since we've been working for the last couple of years together, so, yeah, we'll come up with a plan. We'll still do the CO, and I would say make the first payment when we issue the CO.
yeah, I mean,
Go from there, yeah.
my company is called Maverick Development. We've been building and doing work for 36 years, and we have I can tell you, we have an extremely good reputation. We build in a lot of towns, and we do good work, and we have a lot of very, very happy customers. So if I tell you I'm gonna do something, I can
And you've
tell you
done that
I would.
through this whole project, so I'm not worried about that part of it, yeah.
Jonathan has a lot of goodwill on his balance sheet.
That's right.
So I guess, the last thing I'll say is, I guess, I'm trying to think of something that you can act on as far as, like John was saying, the piece that was in the ordinance, as far as the taxes, if there's any relief at all that could be given to the impact fees based on, where you can work from, something you can sink your teeth in, such as, taxes already paid over time, type of thing.
But you have to understand that every single property that gets assessed an impact fee has had people paying taxes over time. I mean, it's just,
Sure,
every
but
lot in town has, every piece of land has had taxes paid on it by somebody.
but are they all in the military? That's kind of what we're asking here.
I think we take care of our military through giving them an annual forever discount. There's no provision in the ordinance that I can see that
I looked at the
has anything to
RSA
do with
as
the
well.
military.
Yeah, no,
Or in the law.
we knew that, that's why we were here, otherwise we wouldn't need to come before
Right.
you, but, no, I was more, looking at, your ordinance does say that if there's money that's been paid over time on taxes, that could be used as relief to the impact fees. I believe that's what I was referring to, that John had found in the ordinance.
I think that's generally meant for lots that are paying full taxes, not current use taxes, that have remained vacant for long periods of time with the same family. I mean, you've just purchased these lots,
That's
so
true.
you don't have that.
Yeah, they weren't, I don't think they weren't in current use when we bought them, so whoever owned them before us, was paying taxes. I think they owned it for a long time. I believe they owned a lot of land right there and subdivided quite a few lots off there. That's my understanding.
And as much as we would like to be able to gift you with something, I think it would be very unfair of us to grant you relief on taxes paid when you've only made payments for 1 year on this property. Somebody else was doing all of those other payments. So, it would be benefiting you for something somebody else did, and I wouldn't feel comfortable with that, even though, like I said, it would be nice to be able to help you out, but I think your best bet is going to be a payment plan, if that's what the board agrees to do.
Yeah, payment plan, and I do encourage you to go to the town and get your regular tax bill reduced,
Adjusted.
For your military service.
Yeah, we'll have to look into the criteria on that. I'm sure there's some criteria for that.
Yeah, and you may end up being only like a campaign, 30-day campaign or something short of it, go to Guam or someplace nice and do that one.
Yeah, he was just in Guam, actually.
Good call.
I know where the unit goes, I was there.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so in the case of Article 4W, number 11A, seeking an appeal of an administrative decision, I would say that is denied.
I will move to deny the request, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Or are you seconding my decision?
You moved?
I did,
All right.
sorry.
Should we put in a amendment? I'll second it, and then I think we should amend it for the,
That's an option.
is it their option?
That's their
That's
option,
their option.
Right.
not ours.
All right,
Yeah.
second.
Because if they choose not to do the payment plan, then they have to just pay it full.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, right, that's their choice.
Okay, so,
Seconded, all in favor? All right, 3 5s. Sorry, gentlemen.
Thank you for the option.
Yeah,
We'll certainly pursue that with Paul, and
excellent.
it'll certainly help with the blow, you know, if you can spread it out over time, for
Certainly.
sure. Thank you for everybody's time tonight.
Oh, you're
The
welcome.
other thing I would say to you is if you feel very strongly that there should be a provision made, is start talking to people in town and see if you couldn't get that on the ballot at some point to have people vote. Because these fees were approved by the citizens.
Right.
And any adjustment to that would need to be approved by the citizens of the town, I
Right,
would
I mean, they
imagine.
present, yeah, come in with,
So
come in and
in-
actually talk to the planning board about changing that ordinance. They're in charge of that, and then,
And
They'll
see if
probably
you can
listen
get
louder if
other
you're-
support behind
live
you
here.
on it, and
I'm sorry.
If they
it
live
may
here.
not benefit you, but it would benefit somebody else at some point,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
And keep in mind, the other silver lining is that in 6 years, that money's most likely, a big chunk of it coming back.
Okay, yeah, you don't,
I don't foresee a school expansion happening in the near future.
okay.
We've been
Right.
struggling to get that moving for a long time, and
Savings account.
Well, I know when the planning board questioned the school board a month or so ago, what are your intentions with the money? Correct me if I'm wrong, John, and their answer was, we will find a way to spend it.
that's been
That's
many
cool.
months. I don't know. All right, so, move to close public hearing on case 16004 AA.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Time. Thank you.
Enjoy your new home.
Yeah, thank you.
You're moving to a great neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks nice. We'll see.
Gee, I wonder why you said that, Bonnie. Bonnie just lives down the road from you.
Yeah.
It's the best neighborhood in Nottingham.
It's a busy place on the weekend, that farm, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
That place is,
Oh, the baby goats are being born right now.
it's, I was surprised at the traffic. I never expected it to be that busy, but it is.
It's
That's new, actually.
people bringing their children to see the baby goats.
Yeah.
They're born at this time of year.
Yeah. It's nice that you do that, it's a great thought. Thank you again.
Good night, gentlemen.
Take care.
All right, next on the agenda is, public meeting election of officers.
Paul, you look puzzled. You look puzzled.
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Mr. Moran, did I skip you on comments, or did you get,
I was just gonna mention.
I saw a lot of hand motion and then you calmed down.
Tax credit that he's gonna get from being military,
Right. Okay.
which is going, he'll get it most likely,
Oh, yeah.
which is basically.
Better.
Monthly, and then he'll cut it off.
Oh, yeah. Over time, it'll be a much better deal than
Oh,
the impact fee. All right. Election of officers, then meeting minutes, and then we'll still be out of here at a decent hour for a 3-case night. It's a record.
One little thing to bring up. with you
Certainly.
guys.
Yeah.
No, I mean, go ahead and do your office.
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
I'll do it
Oh, in other?
under other stuff, yeah.
So I nominate Mike Russo to be chairman again.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Am I supposed to abstain? Is that good?
No, you don't have to.
All right.
You can vote for yourself.
I'm willing to do it.
Just can't raise both hands.
All right. No, I'm having a hard time with this hand as it is.
You know Trump's voting for himself.
Oh, yeah. He's the only one. Well, I had to get that in on tape. Sorry about that.
Okay, and you have a vice chairman.
I nominate Bonnie Winona,
I would second that.
vice chair. All in favor? Aye. There we go.
Bonnie, you're the current vice chair, right?
Correct.
Okay, good, because we had to update a state form last week and we just put both of you in the same places.
You were right.
All right, meeting minutes for January 5th.
You would include me if you wanted it, right?
We only have two.
Interested.
Yeah,
Well, sometimes we have a secretary or something, but that's something you could just
Nobody ever
fill
wants
in
to
on.
do
No,
it.
nobody ever wants.
And we have Joanne.
Right,
so we have a paid
Sometimes
secretary.
but we've crossed that bridge, Will.
Right.
I sent them out, so that's why I didn't. The minutes. Right.
Just a reminder, we have a meeting coming up on April 19th, if you guys want to. Can you send around the bylaws next time you're in the office? electronically, so just for homework, read the bylaws.
See
I
if they
don't
need
think-
tweaking or.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
We updated them last, so yeah, we tweaked them last time.
Yeah.
They're in pretty good shape.
Paul, I have one piece, when I was reading the homework on this one, Article 5, C3, the expiration of a special exception.
Yeah.
The
2-year?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was voted in, the Mills proposed that as a petition article, I believe,
oh yeah,
3 or 4 years ago.
just
Right,
just
yeah.
the way that it reads,
Yeah,
just the way that it reads, the object in the sentence is missing, so you don't know what becomes
What-
null and void.
right.
So when do I put that in to process to be changed for
Write
next
it up
year?
and get it to Joanna or myself, because we've gotta change, what I'm gonna talk about later, we've gotta change.
Bring it to the
zoning ordinance.
planning board, and then it'll go on the agenda for next year for the zoning ordinance change for,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're not gonna tackle that until
It's
this
not just
summer,
a
so.
typo?
No, it's not just a typo.
No, it's more than a typo, so.
It's,
yeah.
but it's like you insert a clause and it becomes much more clear.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take care of that
Okay.
in writing.
Okay.
All right, any comments, questions, or concerns on the meeting minutes of January 5th? Joanna, thank you for sending those out last week.
No comment.
I make a motion that we accept the meetings of January 5th as written. Are you seconding? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Paul,
I'll abstain.
Oh, abstain.
Yeah, I wasn't there, yeah.
4 and 1.
All right, real quick, accessory dwelling units. I went to a law lecture a couple weeks ago, and as of July 1st, 2017, the law is going to change. Why it's gonna be a year plus from now is to allow towns to go through another town meeting process, because the governor signed it after town meetings. We have to update our zoning ordinance. Basically, we are 99% correct, there's a couple little tweaks. We, right now, currently, we limit it to 1 bedroom, that's no more. You can't limit the number of bedrooms, state law says. The other thing is, I know
You
a lot
can't
of
limit it at all, so it could be like 4, or?
Yep. I mean, we still have to meet all the other zoning requirements. for
Right,
it,
right.
but
And
The other
septic-
thing is,
septic
yeah,
system.
the other thing is, you guys have set a condition a lot of times for a family member, can't do that no more.
What do you mean a condition for a family member?
That the auxiliary
Oh, be
auxiliary
lived
dwelling
in.
unit be occupied by a family member of the property owner.
Can't do that.
Can't do that anymore. And ours doesn't, we're okay on this one is, a lot of towns say the property owner has to live in the main house. Well, why they tweak that, he or she, the property owner can live in either one is, I'll use you and your wife, for example, you're living in the main house. So when your kids get older and they move back home, you stick them in the auxiliary dwelling unit. But as you and your wife get older, the kids take over the main house and you occupy. That makes sense. I mean, so, and the big one is we exempt in our zoning ordinance auxiliary dwelling units from the impact fee. And the question came up was, because we figured 1 bedroom, there's really no impact on the schools and stuff.
Right.
Why should towns do this? And the answer from the lawyers is, you shouldn't. You should be charging, because you could get families in there, so technically, we should be charging for.
Well,
When they-
actually, the family member thing makes perfect sense to me,
Right.
because you can't tell somebody who they can rent to. You
And
just,
actually, it's unconstitutional to check their birth certificate, so, I mean, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, the rest of our ordinances, we're right to where the law says we are now, we're good. We upgraded to 750 square feet, that's the minimum you can allow or require, which we're there now. So it can go bigger,
that's the minimum, okay, for an accessory
for
dwelling.
accessory dwelling unit, yep,
So that's gonna go up for rewrite before the planning board for
Right.
next year.
yep. So we're gonna address that on that level, so they can, yeah, that's, besides that, and the thing you brought up tonight, they're not gonna be the 2 bigger changes. But I don't see us doing a whole lot more in zoning. That's all I have tonight, sir.
And,
I believe, hold on, I'm sorry, Did you email them the OEP conference dates?
I was just gonna
Okay,
mention that.
never mind, sorry, sorry.
I have a question.
Yep.
Was there any discussion at your workshop or whatever it was about, what do they call it, the little small houses?
That's the next one.
Micro
Tiny
houses.
houses,
Because I know that
Tiny
Portsmouth
houses.
has been talking about,
yes.
you said 750 square feet, that's like
Yeah.
huge.
Well,
for a
that's
tiny house.
separate, because that's not an accessory, well, some towns call that an accessory dwelling unit. We actually have one in town.
A tiny house?
Yep, yep, it's very nice. It's on Case Road.
I see it on the internet a lot. I've
Case
never-
Road, it's on John Tenenko's property. Yep. Actually, this was a three-part series. The first part was just accessory dwelling units. The second part is tiny houses and that movement, and that's not till like June or July.
But will
and
you
then
report
later
to
this
us
fall.
What you learned from that, would you give us?
Oh,
a
absolutely,
summary?
yep, yep, absolutely.
Actually, there's somebody in Lee that has a piece of land to put in 12 tiny houses as a veterans
Well, that's Peter, he's famous.
Yeah.
retreat.
But, and, I mean, some towns do that. There's, I forget what town it was, said, you know, we talked a little bit, we introduced for the next topic, is there's one town that allows detached accessory dwelling units. Really, when you look at them, they're tiny houses. They allow up to 4 on a standard, and they're 2 acre in that town too. So you'd have the main house and 4 detached, smaller. I'm like, whoa, that's aggressive. With the septic loading and everything, I'd be a little nervous about that.
Depends on the soil.
Right. Actually, I do need an opinion from you guys. There's a gentleman that's building a house in town for somebody, and that's how I've met him through that process. He is looking, and he would not identify the land, 2 pieces of property in town, 10 to 15 acre range. His proposal is to do a open space subdivision and put mobile homes on them. Okay, now here's my dilemma. Our ordinance says we can't have mobile home parks. It's in our zoning ordinance. State law says a town either has to allow mobile home parks or allow mobile homes on a regular lot. So I'm like, is that a loophole? So I called the HMA and talked with them, and they're going, is your open space recognized as a legal lot? I'm like, yeah. He said, you gotta allow them. A trailer park, if we wanna call it that, mobile home park, is one piece of land that's owned by whatever entity, and they just,
They rent a little
they rent
stall
out
space,
lots, basically, like a campsite.
make a fortune.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm like, that's a loophole then, how do we fix it? He said, there is no legal way to fix it.
So what's our lot size in open space?
Basically rounded off, minimum 3/4 of an acre.
And so, but there has to be some common land or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay.
What they have to prove is, on a traditional 2 acre subdivision, how many lots they could do if they did a traditional 2 acre, and let's say that's 10 lots. Then, under open space, they can only do 10 lots. Unless they call it workforce housing, then there's a bonus. There's like a 5% bonus figure. No one's doing workforce housing.
Because the money's,
It's not in Nottingham, it's ridiculous.
They're not doing it in New Hampshire.
Oh, really? Nobody's doing stuff?
The
It's
federal
because
gov-
they
The federal
restrict the
government
money.
with the state has set per county what the maximum house sales could be, the price. For this county, it's $289,000, and it has to be deed restricted for that price for 20 years. Doesn't matter who owns it. So if you and your wife buy the house from a builder today under workforce housing, the most you're gonna pay is $289. Let's say 5 years from now, the housing market goes through the roof and you can get $400,000 for that same house,
you can't.
I can't.
you can get $289,000.
What happens with taxes? They could only tax it for doing that.
No, wow, no, that's the selling price.
I
The
don't know how you
assessments can
couldn't.
still be different, which I'm like, wait a minute,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, how you
So
couldn't
that's
tax
why
it.
nobody's building workforce housing.
Well, it makes no sense in Nottingham because we don't have transportation.
Right.
Well, nobody has transportation.
Who could afford that?
Oh, yeah, Dover does.
289,000, somebody in friendly business isn't gonna buy that.
So I don't see where any opinion on that whole,
No, I just wanted to, in case it does come up, just anything odd and unique, I'm trying to inform the boards more,
okay,
just to keep everybody informed of what's going on,
I guess I got homework to do.
yeah,
Are we still on TV?
yeah. Until you adjourn,
Keep
we're
it hidden.
technically on TV. Yeah.
All right,
Oh, yeah, we haven't adjourned.
making a
clean.
motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
all in favor? All right, we're off the
Everybody,
air.
you